Action.
Before we get into it, this is like a quick question just to make sure all the technology and stuff is working. So what did you have for breakfast this morning?
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm a bad person to ask that question because I never have breakfast, which is very bad, so nothing.
Mostly stumps most people, but take as much time as you need to think about it.
You know, when did you fall for shot put?
When did I fall for shot put? I fell for shot put.
That's all good. That'll be amazing.
Hi, I'm Elliot, and I'm on a mission to redefine dyslexia. I've talked to all sorts of amazing Kiwis with dyslexia to prove that dyslexia is a strength and a superpower that gives you skills that can take you to amazing places. Our dyslexic superheroes live and work all over the globe and are doing all sorts of amazing things. I talked to actors, Olympic superstars, award-winning coaches, and extraordinary business people and amazing innovators. They all talked about how using their dyslexic superpowers has helped them to succeed. I've had so many amazing people help to make this documentary possible. You won't see all of them in this documentary, so I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone who helped. The youngest and most enthusiastic member on our team is Thomas, who overheard us talking about the project, and he was like, "Guys, you need to ask Tom Holland. You know, Spider-Man, he has dyslexia and he's a superhero. I'll message him for you." And he was off. I'll keep you up to date with how he gets on with that.
Hey, have you seen this guy? You know, Tom Holland. He's Spider-Man.
One person who's been incredibly supportive is Sir Richard Taylor. I'm so grateful for his support and would like to pass over to him now to introduce the documentary.
Hi Elliot, and cheers to all that have tuned in for this fantastic event, Unlocking Potential. It's unfortunate I can't be there personally with you, but things have gone a little crazy as film directors have started to rediscover that our doors are now open and they can come down to New Zealand. So ourselves and others within the industry that we work in are trying to get things kicked off and getting exciting again.
Thanks, Richard. Now, let's meet the rest of our superhero team. Tom Walsh, our very own NZ Olympic powerhouse. Tom was an Olympic shot put medalist, world gold indoor and outdoor champion. Michelle Sharp is the CEO of UNICEF NZ, a director for Kilmarnock Enterprises, and is a digital innovator and very successful entrepreneur. Josh Cameron is an intellectual big thinker and change agent. He was political advisor and in-house lawyer to John Key. Bridie Munro is a wellbeing advocate and yoga teacher who cares deeply for helping others find connection to themselves and the world around them. Jake Westacott is an accomplished chef who also does global food and beverage event logistics for members clubs run by Soho House, a private club for bankers, royalty, celebrity, and creative individuals. Fergus Ritchie is a freshman at Harvard studying engineering. He's an outstanding rower and is now rowing for the Crimson at Harvard. He's also the only person I actually knew who had dyslexia, so he's been a big inspiration to me over the years. Alex Tarrant is a Māori Niuean actor known for the sci-fi thriller Night Raiders, NZ TV dramas like 800 Words and Shortland Street, and now an international star on NCIS Hawaii. Scott Robertson, aka Razor, in my opinion is one of the best rugby coaches in the world. You might also know him as a breakdancer extraordinaire. Sir Richard Taylor, yes, the Sir Richard Taylor, creative wizard, exceptional entrepreneur and founder of Weta Workshop. When I say dyslexia, what pops into your head might be a misspelt word, but what really should appear is a superhero. For too long, everyone's been told that dyslexia is a bad thing, and that's just not true. Dyslexia gives you amazing superpowers that help you to do amazing things. And you're going to hear all about them from our very own NZ superheroes, so let's go. The first power is Super C. Super C gives you the ability to visualize and see things in your mind. This is super helpful if you're the coach of a great rugby team, as it's going to help you see how the game's going to unfold. Or if you're a NASA engineer, you can see how the different parts of the project are going to fit together. Or as a fashion designer, you can see what the dress you're designing needs to look like. Or perhaps, like Lewis Hamilton, you can see the line you need to drive, which gives you that extra edge in the race.
My mind works in different ways because, visually, in terms of I was a builder, I can see a plan and kind of see how it all works and fits in, where a lot of people can't do that. I just know where things are in space, and so that's pretty important when I'm turning around in the circle at a high rate of knots. So some visual, awareness and knowing where my body is in space has, my mind works really well that way.
I actually deal with a big event in Miami every year for the last 8-9 years now. It's Art Basel, and it's where all the art is sold for all the art museums throughout the world are all in Miami buying art. Probably about 2,000 people a day will come to our private events, and they're normally high rollers. So and so then I set up the entire kitchen. So I set up a kitchen that's not there. Totally not there at all. It's nothing. It's just trucks come in and I have to organize it, and then I hand select my chefs through the houses that we have in all over the States, in New York and Chicago, Los Angeles, Nashville. It's an intense, probably 2 weeks non-stop, 15-hour days is non-stop. So we're just producing food. So I watch what other chefs that I admire do and how they do it, and then how they explain to me how it's supposed to taste. So from that, I know when I see a dish, oh, that's got all that in it. It's like a picture. It's like a painting. And I often do that. I teach my chefs a dish, and I set each little piece of the dish out, and whatever, it's going to maybe have 6 components in it, and I place each 6 components on a board and take a photograph of it, and I tell them to do that. And those are the things that have to be in that salad. So how much of it has to be in it, match the picture, opposed to 8 grams of this, 12 grams of that, or whatever it is.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Every good leader has to send a vision. And vision, if perfectly directed, a vision means they have to see where they're going, where we are going. So always put a picture in our team room of what the theme is. We've used the Golden State Warriors, for example, and we used the Golden Gate Bridge. And the Golden Gate Bridge withstood an 8.1 earthquake, like can withstand with an 8.1 earthquake, which is the same size as we had here in Christchurch in Canterbury. And the Golden State Warriors were going for 3 championships in that stage. We were going for 3. And we used the analogy of the bridge that it could withstand any pressure, and it could stand the highest magnitude earthquake. And it was because of the bolts. The bolts, if you keep turning the bolts and keep them strong, it used to keep up all the wires, all the support, and it used to keep the structure alive with the deep foundations down into the ground. But if the bolts got loose, the bridge would get loose, and that's when it would become vulnerable. So we called ourselves the Golden State Warriors, but also made sure that we always kept the bolts. The little things always had to be done.
I would say I'm very visual in how I approach movement, particularly, and life in general. But I use a lot of drawing when I'm sequencing. So I draw out usually sequences that I will teach. So I think I'm very visual by nature, and that does mean that I reach towards creative words when trying to describe what someone might be going through. So there's a real sense of me being able to communicate with them where they're at because of how I can use metaphors and imagery and visualizations to help with the task.
I can generate an image that gives me a certain amount of feeling. So whether it's happened to me or not, I have the ability to really make it feel like it's my experience, and that comes down to my imagination. And I use that to the best of my. I make the most of that ability in my acting.
I try to really understand how to be as efficient as possible in my stroke. You're taking a stroke, you're putting 100% into it. If only 80% or even 70% is being transmitted to the water, you're not going to go very fast. But if you can take a stroke in such a way that 99% of your force is making you go fast, is making you move fast in the opposite direction, you're going to go a lot faster than everybody else. Other people have to be a lot stronger than you so that their 70% puts in the same force as your stroke. So, I think dyslexia does help with that, being able to visualize, the stroke and intuitively understand, how what I'm doing makes the boat go faster. I really do try and drill into that.
Super C could be a pretty useful superpower if you dream of being a builder, an engineer, an architect, or if you want to design amazing things like they do at Weta Workshop, act in movies, or be an incredible chef. Perhaps you're planning to use your superpowers to become a world-class athlete, or perhaps you can see something that none of the rest of us can even imagine, and you'll be something completely new.
I will find you, Tom.
The second superpower is Super Sense. Super Sense allows you to notice how people are feeling. Super Sensors will often say, I just know. I can feel it. Having Super Sense means that you instinctively know how to connect with others. Alex Tarrant calls it natural charisma, but it is so much more than that. When I was talking to Alex, hundreds of kilometers away, on a video conference call, on mute, he just stops mid-sentence. And he asked me, did you have something you wanted to say, Elliot? And I sat there in shock for a moment, because I'd been thinking about how I was going to tell him about the massive difference his words were going to make to Kiwis, because they'd made a real difference to me. He was able to pick up on that because he has the power of Super Sense. Honestly, that's what made talking to all our superheroes so great, because they care so much about making a difference.
I'm really passionate about people. I'm really passionate about inclusivity. I'm really passionate about making sure that nobody should ever stand on the margins of society for whatever reason.
I spend a lot of time with people and face and connected, and I'm really good at noticing and observing early warning signs of people, how they are, how they're feeling, what sort of person they are, who they connect with well, what subjects. I'm good at remembering people's names, partners' names and families and mum and dad's names. So I'm good at that relationship stuff in regards to getting to know the person, who's important to them, what they like, who do they connect with, and then my job is to make sure I keep that connection and they're okay personally. And I think it's how you build relationship and build respect.
So I always say that I'm never the best person at anything I do, but I'm really good at spotting what other people are and can be, in particular believing in them and their potential. So I'd say one of my superpowers is actually seeing in people what they can't see in themselves, and in creating an environment that allows them to really shine.
It's something that really stands out for me as a real privilege, is to be able to provide a space or the opportunity for someone to feel comfortable enough that they can communicate openly about something that they haven't felt that they could before.
I would say definitely my dyslexia helps me calm down or read into how people are reacting in a kitchen. That gets, the trust of other chefs.
The sensitivity that I have to other people is, it's really valuable in the work that I do, because I'm always making in the moment decisions about what needs to be done and what someone needs.
So I think it's made me look at people and look at the world and in a really different way, which is how I think I've built such successful teams, because I can see things in people and skills that they can't even see themselves or wouldn't regard as a skill.
Super Sense would be the kind of power you'd want to have as a doctor, a nurse, or a caregiver, a CEO. politician or entrepreneur, as a manager, a coach, or a teacher. Someone who connects with other people and cares about making people's lives better. The third power is super succinct. Super succinct allows you to cut through the clutter and get to the heart of the matter. It allows you to engage and persuade. It helps you to see what is important, to problem solve and clearly communicate. Writing a 2,000-word essay is something that you do in school, and something I definitely look forward to never having to do again. But in the real world, it's important to be clear and cut right through to the heart of the issue. Bridie, one of our superheroes, shows the power of super succinctness in the modern world with their project The Thou Art, that seeks to communicate important messages with simplicity.
So again, it's these convoluted ideas, trying to make them really bite-sized. So for example, just the idea that you're perfect, just as you are, and that thou art perfect, and that posture is something we can think about, but it doesn't mean that it rules us. And there's lots of flips that we can make if we shine the right light on it. So that's what that work was really trying to do.
I think concise language that comes from being a bit slower with the writing, or a bit hard to get things down on paper, can become quite an asset in professional life. It's rare indeed that you'll find yourself, I think, in many professional situations where people want at least 2,000 words on X. A word count or a page count is very much a feature of an education system rather than the real world. So the ability to convey things in as fewer words as possible in an email or what have you, while still getting your point across in a manner which is professional and effective, becomes a bit of an asset.
That's where I really excel. I have a way of being able to cut through the chaos to ask the right questions, the important questions, or hear the right bits of information in order to make decisions in a really calm manner. So I think I succeed quite well in those environments of high change and high pressure because of that reason.
I think if anything, it speeds up the mind a little bit, or at least forces you to get to the heart of things, because if your reading's a bit slower or your writing's a bit slower, you learn to scan to the center of something faster, and perhaps move away from extraneous facts.
I think that my dyslexia allows me to ask the questions in a different way to anybody else, to almost find the answers that are the most important answers in a business situation. When there's an issue or when there's something that needs to be found out, I think I have a way of asking questions or looking at it from such a different angle, and then assimilating the information in a way that allows me to make really good, solid decisions really quickly.
Super succinct is a magical superpower if you wish to be a storyteller or a performer, a director, actor, artist, or perhaps a singer-songwriter like Benny. Or maybe you wish to be a journalist, lawyer, politician, or even a speechwriter. You'll be great when it comes to communication and getting a message across.
Hi, I'm Thomas, and this is day 3 of me waiting for Tom Holland to reply to my Instagram message. I've just realised he got 67 million followers. I don't think we're going to get him this year.
Super Imagine allows you to innovate, create original ideas, and put a new spin on things. What would the world be like today without our iPhones? Who could have imagined that one day we'd be able to talk across the world with the click of a button or a swipe of a touchscreen? Steve Jobs imagined it and made it a reality. It almost goes without saying at this point, but just in case you weren't on board with how amazing having dyslexia is, this was another amazing person with dyslexia.
I have a very vivid imagination. I think that's partly to do with my dyslexia. If someone says cow, some people will think of the word cow, and some people will imagine a cow.
Yeah, that's very common that dyslexic, because they don't like, having to deal with the words, they just see the image.
My mind does not want to have to deal with the word. So it's, so it creates really, really strong images. And the reason I see my form of dyslexia as a superpower is because a lot of my images that I can generate in my imagination are strong enough to evoke an emotion inside me. So that is why I consider it a superpower. So
rather than doing things traditionally, I do sometimes have to take a unique approach for it to feel authentic to me, so it doesn't feel that it's been edited and edited and edited and edited to then be correct. So being truthful is it's a value of mine.
My brain works differently, so I'm often able to see other perspectives or have novel ideas or come up with a solution that maybe nobody, other people wouldn't consider, or look at an angle that other people wouldn't consider. I think that's at least the primary advantage for me about, how I try and use my dyslexia to my advantage, is to try and come up with, see perspectives that other people maybe wouldn't consider.
And this unique and peculiar and wonderful way that you might see the world, not inside the academic box, but much more through a filter of creativity and art, possibly music, performance, etc., can give you something very, very special.
And people will delight in what you come up with because you don't think the traditional way.
Super Imagine is Inventors Central. It's home to the minds of great scientists, video game designers and innovators, and basically the creation of anything in any area. So you can add artists, storytellers and architects. Super Imagine opens up a world of possibilities. Our next power is Super Speak. Super Speak gives you the ability to communicate and persuade with ease. It's super helpful if you've ever had to talk to someone before, which I'm hoping that all of you do on a regular basis.
I'm a good orator, I'm a good storyteller, so give me a subject, I'm away, I can attach it to a story and then I can start talking about it. So I've got people that help me, that they're very good at typing and recording, or I do voices into my phone and then I send that on, so I capture my moment.
But I think I also just fundamentally love an argument and love a discussion and love particularly love the requirement, the necessity to think on your feet and engage with an issue and engage with the topic, and to be able to combine that into an enjoyment of competition and I suppose some element of theatricality to it, I found very enjoyable.
I'm such a proud dyslexic person. I really, really am. I mean, it's my stage name when I do presentations. It's the Dyslexic Mexican.
Super Speak is a pretty useful superpower. If you dream of being a politician, a lawyer, a motivational speaker, a podcaster or a YouTuber, someone who wants to use their voice to make the world a better place.
Tom, where are you?
Wow, that was a lot of different superpowers. Probably because we're really great at lots of things, as long as we're using spell check, of course.
For me, my major issues were reading and writing, and reading out loud I still can't do now. Even I've managed to find a way of masking a lot of my, not masking, but working with a lot of my other challenges, but reading out loud is my absolute, I just can't do it. My brain doesn't work in that way at all.
I don't know if this is a symptom of dyslexia, but I already, I have to almost backtrack in my thought patterns. I already know where, what the nugget of information is that I want to give to you. But I kind of have to travel all the way back and then try and piece it all together to get to that piece of information. So this is why I'm struggling to communicate. And this is one of the things it's always been like this. Did you have something to say though?
Oh no, I have the same thing as you. But I've had the practice of doing these interviews with like 6 or 7 people before you. So I've now gone taking the gold nugget I'm looking for, and I've backtracked and I've got my little notes here with all my scribbles over them, so that I can remember all the steps I have to do to get there. Yeah,
that's really cool.
You know, I had a lot of support from my mother. She used to wake me up every morning, and we used to do, half an hour of reading in the mornings, phonetics and things like that, to help with things. And I also had a great reader-writer, Paul Lacrosse, who helped me through school, and Marie Walsh. Both of those two were awesome. And without them, I probably would have given up on trying to achieve some things at school a lot earlier. Without those 3 women, yeah.
Walk around, I've got an iPad, which is a beautiful thing. iPads, it's not, you don't have to keep the lines, you can draw all over the place. It's just a special tool. And like I said, because I'm really big on mindsets or words that drive mindsets, that the structure of how mine works, if it's an attack or defence, if it's whatever I'm trying to coach, I'll have a vision or a picture, then a word, and then how I structure it, everything might just be on the iPad. I get an idea, I'll give it to somebody around me so the people I employ understand that I am dyslexic, they understand how my mind works, they understand how they have my idea, which can be quite a big one or really narrow in what I want, but they take it and finish it for me. But as far as I know is I'm dyslexic. I'm a great starter, but I'm not a good finisher.
I try to figure out how my own brain works, and the internet's amazing. YouTube's so amazing. Such a fantastic resource.
I was the first person in my class to use a computer. I was the only person to use a computer in my class for at least 3 or 4 years. My handwriting is terrible. It's awful. So, a computer is a pretty good way to solve that. And it's great, how well computers are adapted into learning in college and school life now. Yeah.
Excel. I do love Excel. Definitely Grammarly for me has been a game changer. I mean, clearly, using Outlook with spell check is fantastic, but Grammarly is really important to me because I don't know about you, but sometimes my dyslexia turns entire sentences around, back to front, and the language goes into the wrong order. So Grammarly is a great way of just kind of catching. I know, I don't know, I'm also a perfectionist, which is really tough being a dyslexic brain perfectionist because you want to get it right all the time, and my attention to detail is really high, but my brain switches things around often. So Grammarly I've loved for that reason.
I think differently. I have different ways of processing information than other people would. I need a lot of the time. The hardest part of being in a classroom for me is, a metaphor or an example that somebody might use to solve a problem that makes sense for most people doesn't make sense for me, and I have to work quite hard to find another way of thinking about it or another way of framing it that sort of works.
People with dyslexia have an ability to think about things, problem solving in a really, really different way. So what I would love, my dream would be to see that as a result of shining a light on the topic, that really it's something that employers really seek out in a leadership position.
Feels like everyone would want to have one of us on their team. Someone who thinks creatively, or maybe sees and senses things differently. All of our superheroes have 1 to 2 of these superpowers. I'm yet to find someone with all of them, but what's consistent across all of us with dyslexia is that we all have the ultimate superpower of being able to think differently.
There's so many more opportunities and gifts that I've got from having dyslexia that I think different from other people. So that is my strength from not normally in the mainstream. So all those people that have, like a Lewis Hamilton might see the racetrack a little bit differently. And, like I might see the rugby field or a team a little bit differently. And that point of difference is, the margins you need in elite sport.
my science teacher sent my parents an email saying, your son's the only person in the class to think of stuff like this. He thinks differently, and sometimes, clearly in this environment, that's actually a good thing. He comes up with solutions that other people don't think about.
If you have the ability to figure out how you learn, then you have just as much capability. It could be an advantage if you can learn to master the way that you learn.
And just be really curious about what you're capable of and the best ways to learn that stick with you, because once you find these secret hacks that you will naturally gravitate towards, then you're unstoppable. There's nothing that you can't do.
There's more ways than one to skin a cat. It's not only just because you can read and write you're gonna succeed, huh? I mean, yeah, there's always a different way to do something, and I'll prove it to you because I'm gonna do it a different way.
Embrace it as a different way of thinking. Be proud of it. Being an incredible speller isn't going to make you an incredible entrepreneur. Quite the opposite,
I believe the statistic is maybe about 1 in 10 New Zealanders are struggling at some point with learning disabilities. Maybe that 1 in 10 have been gifted another superpower that allows them to do more special and unique things because of it. And that's definitely the case with myself.
I'm so happy I have dyslexia. Let me just say that out loud. I'm very happy. I think that's one of my superpowers. And because I problem solve in a different way, like I'm sure everybody with dyslexia, that's their superpower. It should not be seen as a disability. It should be seen as an absolute incredible ability to think differently.
That's the great strength of it. Once you know that, that's the power of it. If you deflect from it and ignore it and you're not embracing it, that's when I reckon dyslexia can hold you back. There's so much powerfulness in accepting it and understanding how you work, and find the person that can do that.
When I realised that if I was honest about it, it changed the whole situation. So owning it was the big change for me. It's amazing what you can do even with dyslexia, right? Like it doesn't actually hold you back. It hasn't held me back at all. It taught me how to work hard at something and not expect something straight away. And I think that probably taught me, not to give up on stuff. But I think my 7-year-old self would be pretty happy with how I've done. I think he'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, I'd be pretty happy.
The fact that the old definition of dyslexia was written down should be your first hint it wasn't right. It was all about the stuff that me and the other superheroes aren't that great at. So we're here to update the definition of dyslexia. Dyslexia is a superpower. It gives you the ability to have a mind that's great at problem solving, creativity and communication. Dyslexia is an advantage. We're not forgetting the fact that we love to use Grammarly and spell check, and that it's a struggle along the way. We're just here to reframe it, because everyone seems to miss the fact that we're really amazing at lots of things, and that is the most important part. Although they're all superheroes who should make you wish you had dyslexia, they're not defined by that, nor any other definition, because what truly makes them successful, beyond their dyslexic superpowers, is that they're themselves. Labels don't matter. The only thing that matters is that you're your whole self, and that you are proud of that.
Don't let dyslexia hold you back.
It could be the key to your success.
Discover your superpower,
unlock your potential.
Thanks so much for joining me on this journey and helping to redefine dyslexia. Please go out and share our newfound definition, because I'm definitely not writing it down anywhere. Go out there and find someone with dyslexia to be on your team. because why wouldn't you want to have a superhero on your team? And finally, to really help power up dyslexic thinking, please donate on our Give a Little page, Unlocking Potential. All the proceeds are going to the New Zealand Dyslexia Foundation, who continue to advocate for the amazing potential of dyslexic thinking.
Tom, you better message me. It's Instagram, it's not Facebook or anything else.